Hello, and welcome back to the show. My hair, I've gone back to the 80s today. Actually what happened is I'm currently living in what is essentially a construction site at home. That's probably the best way to put it. It's a bit like camping, only it's in your own house, or rather apartment. And so what's happening is I go to the gym, and that's how I have a shower. Luckily, the toilet's working. As far as eating goes, salads are pretty much it. And this week coming, I believe we are going to finally have a kitchen, and I will have hair and makeup and stuff, and that's going to be really nice. So got to say, this kind of stripping back of what you have around you is actually sometimes a good exercise to do anyway, because we can get very locked in our stuff and what we have, and is what we have bigger and better than what the next door neighbour has, and all this sort of crazy stuff, which I'm sort of not really interested in myself, but you see a lot of that out in the world. And I think a good thing to think about, particularly coming up on Christmas time and this sort of holiday season, is to sort of look at, have I got like maybe too much, or is there enough? And so if you're in that position of being very fortunate, do you want to get rid of some of that stuff? It actually can be a releasing of burden, because there are people out there that frankly don't have enough of anything. And people can feel burdened by having too much stuff, because then you've got to insure it, you've got to have somewhere to put it. And next thing, you see, particularly in cases of hoarding, there's so much stuff they can't get around their lounge room or all that sort of thing, whereas we just can't get around our lounge room because our kitchen is in the lounge room, and the laundry and bathroom is also in the lounge room, and pretty much everything's in the lounge room, except us. We're currently occupying just the bedrooms, and hopefully that's, as I said, changing this week. But it's just been rather interesting, and this week I've been dealing with a few clients who have actually had issues where, they know someone who's been hoarding, and has maybe too much stuff and needs to let some of that go, and then this sort of thing of them reducing around them. So, we talk about, recycling and how we're going to save the planet and all this sort of thing, but it's also about reduction of consumption as well. It's like, how much am I consuming? Do I need to? Why am I consuming all of this? Is it empty consumerism? I actually got lost in High Point Shopping Centre this week, which apparently it's not all that unachievable. And it's hilarious because as a psychic, I should know where I'm going, even though it's quite a weird configured sort of shopping centre. If you ask me to go to Doncaster Shopping Centre, and this is even in Australia, of course, if you ask me to go to Doncaster Shopping Centre, no matter how big that gets, it's like, well, you've got that direction and you got that direction, and it's like no, and it just goes up when they're building it. It's not really sort of sprawling out into this concrete jungle maze that you can literally sort of go, well, there's my workout for the day. I think I managed 17,000 steps just getting lost in that place. And so sorry if you are the construction person of a shopping centre, but it'd be great if you could make them a little bit more ergonomic for people like me. But I got to say, shopping centres can really, over time have certainly been something that I found disoriented in. These days, not so much, although, well, High Point proved me wrong. But it used to be a time where I'd start to get quite dizzy in shopping centres just from the energy and all this trapped sort of energy that has nowhere to go. And, it's like a timeless place. It's like there aren't clocks up anywhere. There aren't really, windows to outside where you can go, oh, the outside world, fabulous. Because my sort of thing, I guess, if I'm seeing those windows, I'm desiring to get out of there rather quickly into where the window's showing me, like if there's any trees or stuff. It's like, yeah, get me out of this place. So it sort of explains to me on some level why some people will shop online a lot more, because, well, I don't have to go into that great big loud place, particularly at Christmas time, when in Australia, like today, it's really hot. And there's lots of traffic because we've got all these people Christmas shopping, and so something called the Westgate Bridge over here, it's like chockers. You got 20 kilometres an hour of traffic going both ways, all lanes taken up. And it's like, this was pretty much 11 a.m. on the way in here. So, it can be sort of interesting when we sort of look at this world and just how many people there are and how much they're consuming. And it's sort of like, I don't know, might need to rethink this, might need to think about what we're actually doing. Like if you sort of think of water bottles, I remember back in the very early 90s, I was a manager at a rather large fast food chain, and we had an area meeting for new ideas for the company, anything that they could get from the grassroots of trends that we felt, would be great for this company. And I remember saying back then, one day, water in bottles is going to be sold everywhere, and I don't know why we're not doing it now. Although I don't like the idea of selling water bottles, in plastic when you could just, fill a cup. But because of the way society is going, the water bottles will be a thing. And they all laughed at me. And who's got the last laugh now, hey? Except the planet's not laughing. So, it's like it's really the more we can sort of get to refillable, reusable, and that reduction of the disposable, is ideal. And I'm sort of really enjoying seeing these health food stores and just healthy eating stores where, you've got jars of food, you're getting the scoop and you're putting the scoop and then you're emptying it into your jar and then that's what you're buying. And it's just that refillable sort of situation. I rather like that a lot more. I think it does a lot more for us. And I think the thing is when people get into the semantics of arguing whether climate change exists or doesn't exist, and it's like, why aren't we just doing it more sustainably anyway? What is about this desire for plastic and, disposability? Surely we should be aiming anyway, regardless of whether you believe in climate change or not, and more to this sort of sense of, what's actually going to do less damage overall, what's going to be more, usable in that less wasteful manner. We waste so much. And so it's just a thought I wanted to share with you today before we got going on the readings, which is the fun part. I also want you to sort of think at this time of the year, if there's someone around you that's sort of not doing so well. It's been a very emotional year in 2018 for a lot of people. A lot of people going through a heck of a lot of stuff. And certainly from about September, like there was a lot of really choppy energy in August, September, and then from then on, people have been really sensitive and very easily offended. And I'm not talking about things that are offensive. I'm talking about just things that probably aren't. That's how long's a piece of string, that statement. But, it's like looking at how we can be more helpful to each other. And I think we need to do that all year round, but it's just even more of a time to think about that, because whilst some people say Merry Christmas, I might say Happy Summer Solstice. And if I was in the Northern Hemisphere, I'd be saying Happy Winter Solstice. Yule is still the same. And some of us, in the Nordic countries, we've got Krampus running around. And so it's not just the one tradition that's going on this time of the year. There's actually a whole heap of them. You've got around the 8th of December, you've got that whole thing of celebrating Buddha. And there's all these other holidays besides just Christmas. So if someone sort of says to you happy holidays, try not to take offense, because when you're saying happy Christmas to them or Merry Christmas to them, they're probably going to say Merry Christmas back to you, even though that's not their sort of vibe. That's not what they're doing. They might be having happy Hanukkah. And Diwali has just been, the Festival of Lights. So there's a whole lot more festivals besides Christmas. And I think the more sort of tolerant we are of that, the better off we're going to be. But now getting back onto things, we also have callers coming in, which good luck to me reading them without the glasses. But we have Martha in Linden Station, Wisconsin, USA. Have I got you right there, Martha?
Yes, you have. Hi.
Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in. I'm glad I got that right without being able to properly see it. Now, what I do is I work with a date of birth, and I can also work with questions you might want to ask. I don't always have to have that, but it can be a good sort of lead into things. If I can work with your date of birth, I can sort of get into your energy and see what's happening for you, if you'd like.
Okay. 14 May 61.
Brilliant. So with you, it's really been an interesting old time. And I feel the thing is you're getting back up on your feet again now is how I would put this. And I think the thing is that with you, you can either get right into the detail with people or you can just go, whatever, I'm out. And that will be based on the impression and feeling you're getting from them rather than any kind of automatically dismissive thing here. I do feel with you that the last couple of years you've had to sort of, I think, tie things off a bit. It's like having to let go of the things we can't control, all of that sort of thing. I think the thing is that you're sort of also having to be fairly philosophical when it comes to disappointment or where people are letting you down here, because that's what's helping to shift you forward rather than staying stuck in the why didn't they, or they've really disappointed me, why couldn't they know that wasn't the right thing to do. So there is this whole thing with you shifting forward and persisting even though. So even though things haven't been exactly how you've wanted them to be in specific relation to how other people have been, you're able to kind of say, all right, well, next, and I'm just going to let that go for now. So that's been a helpful thing for you, I think, in how you've been dealing with things. But I also feel as if we're got opportunities to start new things here, particularly next year onwards. But it's like you have to sort of be pretty circumspect about the practicality of it. It's like you're having to be very practical, particularly around when it comes to finances. It doesn't mean it's going to be overly sort of impossible to achieve things at all. It just feels like we need to be practical in the way we're going about things, because otherwise you can get stuck in the middle, if that makes sense. Was there a question that you wanted me to look at for you today?
Yes, I am very miserable in my job. I just changed locations, and I'm not happy there. And I would like to find a better place to work, but I just feel stuck, and I'm unhappy. Is there any way things could change? Is there a better opportunity ahead for me?
Yeah, I do. Look, I do feel so, and I'm really getting the vibe of where you're working, and I'm wow. I have to give you credit for minding your words very carefully in that situation, particularly around a male that's rather stubborn there and has really not got very good active listening skills, if at all. And I feel the thing there is that, it's not exactly easy at the moment. You do need to remain very flexible next year, but I do see new work coming. Keep open to the talk going on between yourself and other people about opportunities they can see opening up for you or around them. Because I feel as if it's going to be through talking to other people that you know, and specifically the words trust. That's a bit of an interesting one where you're working. So these are people outside of where you're working at that particular location. Speaking to people outside of that location about the opportunities that they're seeing coming up in the next 3 months, that's going to bear better fruit for you. But you're kind of going to need to be patient with the situation, even though it's absolutely not ideal. I think the thing is that you have a wonderful persistence about you. You're usually not miserable. You're usually someone who's very philosophical about things and just goes, let's just, keep on moving. But I can understand why you're feeling, the heaviness here and, the lack of being appreciated. And certainly, it doesn't feel like they function well in that place. The way that they're running things, particularly around the management structure, it doesn't feel like it functions well. I don't feel like people are listening when they're being, when someone's addressing a concern. It's sort of in one ear and out the other, and there's the lip service to what they say are their principles as against what they actually do. It's a very different thing. And I feel the thing is that you are very much someone who needs to feel like you're being played straight to. Honestly, openly, let's just get this out. that's how you like to operate, and they're not doing it. And I do feel that there's one more change where you're working, and then there's the other job. The next one, I'm like, goody. That's where we're going to feel in sync with, the way in which things are being run, the way things are being communicated. And in the meantime, it is like you're doing the right thing by just taking a deep breath and going, oh, well, because there's not much you can get through as far as, trying to get any change there. And I do feel you're someone who is very careful to know when you can and when you can't affect change in a place. And I think that's where some people who are very sensitive can get a bit stuck or a bit lost in being very idealistic and not being so practical about how they approach that kind of checkmate situation. Whereas because of your ability to sort of approach this in that sort of, okay, well, I can go this far, but I can't go that far with these people. And staying within the limits of that is actually what's going to help you here. So I do think, you're going to get through this, and it's in the next 3 months I'm seeing dramatic change. But try to remain sort of very loose, very flexible in this, because it's certainly not ideal. And so we need to apply strategy there, if that makes sense to you.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. Look, I do really feel for you, and I just want you to really, shh, mind your words, as I know you know to do. Because I tell you what, if you're given the right outlet with people, you can really bring it home. You can really drive the point home when it's safe, when it's a right sort of space to do that. But with this situation, you're doing the right thing by going, nah. So I would absolutely do that. So I'm going to thank you for your call. Feel free to connect with me through the Facebook page, Solstice Radio, if you need to. And I'm going to just pop off very quickly to the next caller. We have Pat in Merritt, North Carolina, USA as well. Hello, Pat, are you there?
I am.
Hello, Pat. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for calling in. I really feel with you that you're very good at having, you get very intense feelings, and you're selective on who you really open up and share that with. But when you share your love with someone, it's actually quite intense and warm. When you're feeling as if you just are like, God, not getting reciprocation here, there can be quite a strong shut-off too. It's just sort of like we go either way here. But I feel as if with you, you're careful who you open up to on what level and how much. And I think sometimes that works for you. Sometimes it kind of gets in your way. But was there a question you wanted me to look at for you today?
Well, actually, you hit the nail on the head about what type of person I am. Right off the bat, really didn't have a particular question. I guess I just thought of a free reading thing and said, well, maybe I could learn a few things about myself, that sort of thing.
I really feel I want to connect you with the energy of the sun and to be drawing that down into you, because when you are feeling fully empowered and really relaxed, you're actually a really good channel for positive energy for other people as well as yourself. And when you get into more of the deep brooding feelings that happen with you that you don't like to talk about, that's when you're sort of shutting right down. So it's sort of important to not feel the need to have to be, up and really great all the time, because that's sort of an unrealistic expectation people seem to have in our society. But I think that there's a great deal of mentorship you can provide people, and particularly when you're opening that generous heart of yours, which you've learned, sort of you really either open that up or keep it closed. And I think that's an important thing in 2018 to be doing, because, back in the 1970s, it was like, if you're a nice person, nice things happen to you. And in 2018, it's like, if you're a nice person, have your radar up. Watch those other people. You are very observant when you're following through with your instincts. You tend to be bang on with that as to who to let in and who to keep out. And I think that's a very important lesson for all sort of, spiritual and other people, as boundaries are very important. You've had to work very hard in your life to really put those in place. And particularly around your 30s, you've become much more aware at that stage in your life of the need for that. Whereas in the past before that, there were certain relationships you were giving way too much to and feeling really drained. And I feel that's where you've learnt to sort of go, well, most of the time, sometimes you fall backwards, but it's like, hang on a minute, is that the right thing for me? It's not just, is this helping them? Is this the right thing for me? And I really feel with you that, there is times when you're needing to kind of really alternate the diet around a bit, because sometimes what can happen with you is some foods will sit quite heavy with you, and it's like you can, energy really drops. And then other foods will sit quite light with you. And it's kind of really helpful for you to have things like a food diary, just to observe the different effects that's happening. Because sometimes you're also on a mood level wanting to hibernate. And so that can actually coincide with what you're eating, which is kind of this reaction to what we're feeling. And I think the thing is that I really want to draw you to that whole solar plexus, and that's that area, just under the ribs and just above the belly button, and that it's the size of a dinner plate, and that's that yellow. It's related to the spleen qi in Chinese medicine. It's yellow, it's earth, it's our sense of gut feeling, it's our sense of feeling joy, our ability to think clearly, and even the digestion, to digest situations, to digest food. So when I'm sort of looking around that area, when you're in your full strength, you're really flowing and you can really feel things quite easily. But when you kind of get locked up in a bit of fear or anxiety, a bit of concern, a bit of, that can kind of lock up on you. And that's where you can get confused thinking that it's your intuition when actually it can be a fear. So I'm sort of wanting you to kind of, sometimes draw a bit of attention to there and say, hang on a minute, is that feeling coming, through, from, or to me? Is this mine, or am I taking ownership of someone else's feeling that I've come into contact with, and is that's what's kind of hitting me here? And do I need to sort of withdraw from that? I feel as if you're a very fierce, in a good way, defender of those who sort of can't speak up for themselves or are disempowered. You're very courageous in that way, but it can be difficult for you to sort of go into bat for yourself. But I feel that you've gotten better at that, but I think that's been a challenge. But you're very, very good at going into bat for other people. So if someone else is bullying someone else, you're right in there straight away. But if you're sort of finding that someone's giving you a hard time, it's like, just wiping them off a bit there, a bit like a mosquito. There we go. But, once you are riled, which still takes a lot, you really are. And once you've decided that's it with a particular person, it really is it. And I think the thing is that there's nothing wrong with that. It's just really important for you to own your energy and to remember to clear and recharge your energy. So sometimes that solar plexus area can feel a bit heavy and a bit sort of locked down, and that's where having a good belly laugh, really deep breathing, where you can, put your hands just, right down in the belly area and actually watch them moving in and out with that in and out breath. That can actually help you bring that energy down into that area for you, just to clear things, particularly if you're feeling anxious or worried about something. That can also help you get a bit more control on it. So I hope that helps you today. We've run out of time on the show. But I hope that gives you a bit of an insight for starters with working with your energy, in your case there, Pat. And I really wish you a lot of love, light and healing. I know that you are helpful to a lot of people. In the meantime, I have to run for now back to that renovation and possibly go swimming in the sea. And I'll catch you next week, same bat time, same bat channel. May or may not be in my cosy little shop here in South Yarra, but we'll see next time. In the meantime, I'm going to love you and leave you and send you all blessings, love and light on my way.